At first, they were doing this at the age of 10 to 12, but now they are doing it when the child is born. Within 2 weeks, you find the girl child is already mutilated. There is issues of child marriage, and this child marriage is the violence that a girl child is experiencing every day. Because within a child marriage, that child is sexually abused every day. That child is psychologically abused every day, because when she sees others going to school, when she sees others are playing, and she's a married woman, she is now married, she cannot go to school, she cannot go to play. This girl is psychologically affected. But this again, a girl who is in the child marriage is also getting into the forced and child labor. She is taking care of the family, working day and night, carrying responsibilities that are totally different from her age. And another form of cultural practices is gender disparities. We see a lot of girls are denied access to education. I once visited a certain village and I met a woman with twins, a boy and a girl. And she said, my husband refused to take my girl child to school. And we asked why, and say, I don't know. So we went to visit that man and we asked her, why is the girl not going to school? The man said, I don't have money. But you have twins. The boy, I will name his as Stan, and the girl I will mention her as Stella. So we asked him, why is Stan in school and Stella is not in school? He said, because I had to sell my cow. And looking around, we saw a lot of cows, a lot of goats, sheep, and chicken. Then we asked him, why don't you sell the cow again to take Stella to school like you did to Stan? Guess what that man said? He said, I cannot sell a cow to take a cow to school. So the cultural practices that is leading to this is just men perceive girl child as a source of wealth, that she should get married, they get a cow, and that child should not go to school, should not get education, but get married. Another form is the armed conflict, which displays millions of children, exposing them to armed groups recruitment, facing psychological trauma, and the loss of family support. There is the issue of digital challenge. Children are exposed to harmful content, violence, pornography, hate speech. And we have experienced a lot of children using those malicious toys online. They are facing cyberbullying, online harassment, grooming, and sexual exploitation, to mention a few. Addiction and overuse of screen is also affecting mental and physical health of our children. We celebrated the youth year on Wednesday and even today, but we should be aware that our children are the ones who are going to be youth, and they are the ones who are going to be productive members of the society. When we speak of synod on synodality, the communal life, the participation, we should also think of our children, bringing them together to those cultural practices that children were living in a communal life. And activities, in all community activities, so that they are all involved and we travel together listening to their voice. Because we cannot speak about children without involving children. Nothing for children without children. A call to action. Brothers and sisters in Christ, the well-being of the well-being of African children is not just a moral obligation, but a defining factor for the continent's future. We are called not only to preach salvation, but also to protect the most vulnerable among us, our children. In our African wisdom, we say it takes a village to raise a child. This reminds us that child rearing is a shared responsibility. Let us revive the spirit of Ubuntu and Ujamaa, that I am because we are, where every child is everyone's child and no harm goes unnoticed. The Bible teaches us in Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. But this training is not for parents alone. We must boldly preach and act to create safe, loving, morally upright environment where children are nurtured, not neglected, protected, not abused, guided, not lost. Let's go back to our roots of community values, speak up from the pulpit, teach in our congregations, and work hand in hand with families and society to raise a generation of strong, safe, and God-fearing children. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sylvia. You are saying that I am because you are, or you are because I am. Thank you. Father Matthias.
À tous les conférenciers, faites l'effort de tenir 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Merci.
I am Chatelekera Matia. I'm a Ugandan, but I stay in Nairobi. And I belong to the unit of Let the Children, Little Children Come. And as I begin my presentation, I would like us to look at the story of Elijah when he went to the lady in Zarephath after he was being chased by Jezebel, having killed the prophets of Baal. And he prayed to God to stop the rains. Hunger set in, and he went to this woman, the widow, who was collecting firewood to make her last meal and wait for death. When Elijah went to her, he asked her to first cook for her, then for herself and her child, and he did that. And the flour never ran out, and the oil never ran out. We have also, when the apostles felt the people should go and eat, they went to Jesus and said, let the people go home and find food. He said, it is you to give them food. How many loaves do you have? And they had leftovers after eating, thousands of them. In this, we see that God multiplies what we have. We have to look at what we have in order to ask God to intervene from our side. And we are talking about character formation, spiritual and moral formation. We talked about spiritual formation, and I'm leaving that out. Morality is about respecting the rules which imply internalizing principles representing a higher level of conduct. Moral character is engaging in morally relevant conduct or words, or refraining from certain conduct or words. And a good character consists of knowing the good, desiring the good, and doing the good. Habits of the mind, habits of the heart, and habits of action. So in moral formation or character formation, we already have a legal framework given to us by the church. And in this, we look at the code, I'm looking at the code of canon law. They identify the different agents in formation. We have the parents, we have the civil or political society, we have the church, and the institutes of education. Why are we talking about character formation? Because there are adults who are not proud or happy with their children, and they are ever crying children of these days. Children are easily incorporated into drugs, violent behavior, false indoctrinations like LGBTQ+, or multiplication, I don't know. There is loss of direction in the children, and retired parents, the grandparents, are raising children in their old age. They are absent parents, and children interact irresponsibly. So when we turn to the parents, Canon 793 says, parents and those who take their place have both the obligation and the right to educate their children. Catholic parents have also the duty and the right to choose those means and institutes which in their local circumstances can best promote their Catholic education for their children. Parents have moreover the right to avail themselves of that assistance from the civil society, which they need to provide a Catholic education for their children. Vatican II says the parent has a right, based according to the church's understanding, in their natural, it's a natural right and original, based in their parental procreation, and no one who can replace it. Others, guardians, come in when their parents are not there. So the parents cannot be exonerated from their work. Yesterday we were talking about the fathers leaving the mothers. The church says it is the parents, both the parents have this duty. Vatican II, when it comes to the church, says, finally, in a special way, the duty of educating belongs to the church, not merely because she must be reconciled as a human society capable of educating, but especially because she has the responsibility of announcing the way of salvation to all peoples, of communicating the life of Christ to those who believe, and in her unfailing solicitude of assisting men to be able to come to fullness of this life. That is Gravissimum Educationis number 3 of Vatican II. And the purpose of education for the higher institutes, they say, education must pay regard to the formation of the whole person, so that all may attain their eternal destiny, and at the same time promote the common good of society. Children and young persons are therefore to be cared for in such a way that their physical, moral, and intellectual talents may develop in an harmonious manner, so that they may attain a greater sense of responsibility and the right use of freedom, and be formed to take active part in social life. So, in this formation, we are looking at values. There are so many values: humanity, integrity, honesty, caring. And they can be seen at a universal level also. The challenge is our cultural setups. In culture, twins in one place can be welcomed and celebrated. In another place, they can be killed because they are a bad omen. Here where we are liturgically, we are looking at, when we are listening to the gospel, for example, depending on our kings, there are places where the king speaks when the subjects are seated. And there are places where the kings they want to sit when the subjects are standing. And we see that in our mass today. We have the two different. So which one is right? That's where the culture becomes a challenge. But we still have to proceed. We have ways that have been, I'm looking at the question of how this formation can be done. People have come up with ways with psychology in education. There is Kohlberger's morality of justice. For that one looks at the value of justice and how it can be developed, or how you can form a child in it. Gilligan looks at the morality of care. Somebody starts by caring for myself survival, then convenience, then somebody goes to integrated care where he considers others. Now in conclusion, we are the pastoral agents. We need to prepare parents to be responsible towards their children. The children can be instilled in a number of values. For example, I'm looking at PMC children. They are not just for dancing. They can care for each other. In Nairobi, they have dug, boreholes in rural areas where their fellow children lack what to use. I want to end with a story from Daystar. The Vice Chancellor of Daystar was invited this year to be the keynote speaker at Nairobi Archdiocese Teachers' Day. And in his speech, he said, at Daystar University, there are no privileges for teachers or anybody in the school, in the university. Everybody goes to the toilet, the same toilet. There are no toilets for staff. And they are ever clean. The toilet rolls don't disappear. They are not vandalized simply because they belong to everyone. Nothing is reserved. In their classrooms, they don't lock them, and their projectors are always there. The podiums are not vandalized. And even he himself, as a vice chancellor, goes to class and teaches. That equality and sense of belonging and ownership, he presented it as a value that they have inculcated into the children, the learners in their university, and it bears effect. Now, us also, as pastoral workers, we have an opportunity to come up with the values we want and instill them in the children. PACTPAN has already started with the younger ones we have here. By their time, we never had any projects running. Now that these ones have started, that's already a good thing. By the time they come to our age, they will not be looking for funds. We are talking about sustenance. They will be having more money through their projects, giving 10% to the church, and promoting other church projects. Thank you.
Merci, Père Mathias. Maintenant, nous allons donner la parole au Père Paul Ngueta. Alors, comme ça nécessite, je ne sais pas, de l'installation, est-ce qu'on peut donner la parole à quelqu'un qui n'a pas besoin de projeter pour l'instant? Vous avez besoin de technique? C'est Joseph, c'est ça? OK. Donc, Joseph, vous pouvez parler pendant qu'on installe pour le peuple. Le micro, vous pouvez appuyer. C'est ça. Ah, it's okay? Ah, okay. So, Father Paul.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. My presentation, I hope you can see. there. I come from AMESEA. AMESEA is a regional body which is a wing of SECAM, and I'm in charge of a department called Integral Human Development, which has quite a number of programs which includes human rights, right to education, right to health, and of course safeguarding also among many. So my presentation, the topic that I was given was evangelization, digital faith formation, and the liturgical participation of children in Africa. And I'm imagining this topic was given to me because of the current issues around digital concerns. So how can we use the digital platform to evangelize not only children but also the whole Catholic fraternity? So now I have shared my topic among these topical areas. Like you can see from the projection, an overview of the importance of engaging children in faith life, that the children should not be ignored. They have a lot to contribute, and you've seen children performing liturgical dances very beautifully in our churches. The next one is Africa continent is so rich with cultural diversity and growing youth population. And of course, all these cultures have quite a lot, and especially cultural values that can be borrowed to enrich the church teachings. The next one is on the purpose of this paper is to explore an effective evangelization methods, which is digital faith tools and children and their liturgical roles that they play. The other one, recognizing Africa youth demographic population and the spiritual landscape. That, of course, the whole of the continent of Africa, the population that is less than 40 years and below is quite massive. So it means this kind of group, whether youth or children, can do a lot to evangelization and also being evangelized. What is the paradigm shift from traditional methods to innovative approaches that we can create content to our children, either on catechism, Bible classes, even moral values, even mentorship using social media. I quite know, like majority of you watch a lot of things that don't make sense. They are created either from Asia, Africa, sometimes even Europe, America. But how I wish that we, the church, can create a lot of some rich content which enhances our faith and the morals, especially from the social media platforms. And I can imagine we can reach a lot of our children and make them even Christians, if not Catholics. The next one is also, and the objective of my paper is also to explore the transformative strategies for faith nurturing among children. So using these platforms then to transform faith of our children in our contexts. So the next part is evangelization of children in Africa, which has an historical perspective of evangelization effort, which, of course, I'm highlighting on the challenges and the opportunities. Some of the challenges, of course, could be cultural diversity, like you've heard some of my other speakers say. Cultural diversity and language barriers. If people have not had opportunities to go to school, of course, language becomes a barrier. And also, what the cultures hold so dear, which sometimes is not so relevant into the situation of people at that very particular time, like what she mentioned of genital FGM, which female genital mutilation, which may not make any sense at the moment. Possibly that time it had values. Which are socio-economic factors. Again, you also know that majority of our kids, the excuses the parent use is that they cannot afford to take them to school, like the case of my sister here. And then limited access to faith resources, that Possibly they are walking long distances to reach a church. That could be a challenge also, but for young children going to places of worship. What are the opportunities at hand that we have leveraging indigenous cultures and languages? We have also community-based evangelization, like the small Christian communities, which is reaching people at their family levels. And then we have also the role of catechists and family faith transmission. That is why every one of us will quote the parent and as the first teacher who introduced you to faith. I could imagine if we were all born in some families that are not Christian, possibly would be Muslims or belong to other religion. But thank God our parents were either Christians and Catholics. The next one I want to speak to is digital faith formation. How can we use now this digital as a tool for formation? And of course, the rise of digital technology in Africa currently, like I mentioned, is that we can use these digital platforms and tools for evangelization and also formation, including in the formation houses, in the families. Social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube. Like I said, we create content that are very valuable to our people and also enriching to their faith. Mobile hubs focused on Bible reading, prayers, and catechism. Also online courses and webinars for children and educators. What are the benefits for this digital faith formation? And I would say accessibility in remote areas where sometimes it's difficult for priests and catechists to drive to such communities. Then we can use where we have Wi-Fi or internet reaching unto them. Interactive and engaging contests that you can interact with the children well in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in different occasions, or even that very particular day. And then continuous faith education beyond Sunday school, so that at least we have cartoons created on teaching and educating our children around the formation of faith and morals. And then what are the challenges of digital formation? Again, digital divide and access issues. We need for age-appropriate content that you find children with phones, but you are not very sure what are they watching. They could be watching what their parents do, or they have seen their parents watch. And that's already, you can intoxicate their mind too early. So it is also good that we choose what is good for our children. The other one is also liturgical participation, the liturgical participation of children in the church. And I'm saying, what's the importance of involving children in liturgy? Children have talents. Give them opportunities. They also will foster a sense of belonging. They feel they belong to the church because they are part of what is happening in the church. It also depends understanding of faith. Once they see them dancing, and of course, that song which is so biblical, they can relate it with a particular story in the Bible, and then also they do the actions of dancing, and that's enough way of already evangelizing. Ways to encourage children in participation, and I'm saying children lectors, serving mass as altar girls and altar boys, active participation in procession and offertory. And I can remember in the year 2015 when the Holy Father, Pope Francis, visited Kenya, what impressed him most, I remember him telling us it was the liturgical dance, which he hadn't seen in his lifetime. So to see children and the beauty of children dance, I'm not very sure whether the countries you come from, whether you have children dancing, but if you don't have that chance, welcome to Kenya, and you will see the beauty of our liturgies. The other one is innovations. We use also liturgical participation as use of multimedia during liturgy. Interactive children missals and prayer books also. We have missals for the children. The next one is also integrating evangelization, digital formation, and liturgical life. And this will create synergy between evangelization and digital tools, using liturgical celebration to evangelize, training and empowering children on catechesis, the role of families and the community in faith development. We could have case studies in different, beautiful, case studies which involves successive stories from different continents, innovative programs and digital initiatives, and impact assessment and Facebook from children and families. Challenges and the way forward is addressing infrastructural and education gaps, promoting local cultural expression of faith, encouraging youth leadership in faith initiatives, and collaborating with the digital technology companies and NGOs. In conclusion then, which I confirm as an action point, is reaffirming the importance of a holistic approach, embracing technology, foster participation, and evangelize with cultural sensitivity. Message of hope for future children faith in Africa. So I beg to end there because of time. Thank you so much for listening.
Nous disons un grand merci au Père Paul et sans plus tarder, nous allons passer le micro au Père Apollinaire. Et contrairement à ce que vous avez dans votre document, Jean Kwasi, c'est plutôt Apollinaire. Vous avez la parole.
Bonsoir à tous, je suis Apollinaire Kwaku Yao Adams, je suis prêtre diocésain, je suis liturgiste de formation, membre du consortium des liturgistes africains, responsable au niveau national des célébrations avec d'autres membres comme moi, professeur dans les instituts catholiques et séminaires de Côte d'Ivoire. Mon intervention n'est pas la présentation d'un projet, mais plutôt le partage sur un thème dans le cadre de ce congrès. Famille, santé et guérison en Afrique. Pour parler de la santé ou de la famille ou la question de la guérison, il faudrait quand même faire un petit détour sur la question de la maladie. Parce que parler de la santé, il faut aussi intégrer la souffrance dans le cadre de la maladie. La maladie, écrite Susan Sontag, une Allemande d'origine et de nationalité américaine par adoption, est la zone d'ombre de la vie, le territoire auquel il coûte cher d'appartenir. Et je vous souhaite une bonne santé pour ne pas voyager, comme elle le dit, dans ce royaume. Mais on ne peut pas éviter ce voyage une fois que nous naissons. Donc, chaque personne qui naît a comme une double appartenance qui ne révèle pas de sa volonté. L'appartenance du royaume des bien portants, soi-disant, et aussi de ceux qui sont soumis à la fragilité liée à la maladie. Malgré les efforts de prévention, il n'est pas toujours facile de pouvoir maintenir l'équilibre pour ne pas passer dans le royaume de la maladie. La médecine, donc la thérapie, essaie de mettre en exergue des pratiques pour pouvoir accompagner, guider et soigner. Notre réflexion voudrait donc mettre un rapport dans l'articulation entre l'impact de la famille sur la santé et la question de la guérison dans le contexte africain. Notre approche est théologique et pastorale concrète intégrale. En partant des réalités socio-culturelles africaines où la famille élargie demeure le premier système de soins et de soutien, notre échange voudrait examiner comment la tradition chrétienne peut éclairer, accompagner les pratiques de guérison communautaire. L'analyse révèle la nécessité d'une pastorale de la santé inculturée, incarnée, respectueuse des sagesses traditionnelles, tout en étant enracinée dans la foi chrétienne, puisque l'homme naît comme projet de Dieu dans un contexte dans lequel Dieu lui associe ce qui est nécessaire pour vivre et s'épanouir. Il s'agit donc de parler d'une guérison holistique au sens familial, qui intègre les dimensions spirituelles, psychologiques, sociales et physiques, contribuant ainsi à une ecclésiologie africaine authentique, c'est-à-dire être Église capable d'accompagner chaque membre dans son état de vie et dans la situation concrète de ce qu'il traverse. L'Afrique contemporaine vit cependant une transition sanitaire complexe, marquée par la coexistence de défis de santé publique traditionnels et modernes, au point que parfois, le recours à la santé nécessite la mise en pratique des données modernes au détriment des pratiques dites traditionnelles reléguées au second plan. Dans ce contexte, la famille africaine reste le premier recours thérapeutique, combinant médecine moderne, pharmacopée traditionnelle et spiritualité. Cette réalité interpelle la théologie et la pastorale chrétienne quant à leur capacité d'accompagner holistiquement les communautés dans leur quête de guérison. La question de la maladie porte dès lors en elle le regard socio-anthropologique, connaître l'homme, situé réellement, car le corps dans lequel, car il n'est pas seulement un sujet biologique, ni seulement un sujet moral. La personne malade se présente à travers ce que nous pouvons appeler son corps propre, qui est toujours celui de quelqu'un, lieu de l'inscription d'une existence singulière. Le corps dans un tel contexte ne peut être pensé en troisième personne, l'autre sans identité. Il est le support physique d'une existence, le centre d'appréciation dans lequel s'élabore au sein d'une expérience le rapport du jeu dans un monde réel, intersubjectif, social, culturel, historique et religieux. Dans ce cas, la question et la démarche pour que la famille soit un pilier et une notion essentielle doit s'entendre au triple sens et à sa triple dimension. Famille biologique, famille sociale et famille comme communauté de foi. La famille et la santé humaine. La relation entre la famille et la santé humaine est complexe et bidirectionnelle. La famille influence la santé de ses membres et inversement. On peut se faire l'expérience si dans le cadre de notre congrès et ce qui est un peu arrivé, quelqu'un ne se porte pas bien, notre assemblée vit cet impact parce qu'on devrait se pencher sur la personne et vice-versa. Dans le cheminement dans lequel le malade se trouve et cherche à donner sens à sa maladie, il doit découvrir aussi le sens de sa foi. Nous ne parlons pas seulement d'une guérison qui met en retrait Dieu. Cette expérience doit s'entendre dans le sens que dans la fonction qu'elle exerce, c'est-à-dire la guérison, l'Église doit devenir réellement thérapeutique dans la mesure où elle s'identifie comme communauté authentique, comme lieu de rapport vraiment fraternel, comme espace à l'intérieur duquel se fait l'expérience de l'aide réciproque. Il s'agit donc de considérer la famille comme le premier support au niveau biologique pour que, dans l'ensemble du cas de la menace, l'existence personnelle ou sociale se fond avec la personne malade qui peut compter sur l'autre avec un visage concret. Comme le rappelle d'ailleurs l'écrivain malien Seydou Abidjan dans son ouvrage « Sous l'orage », l'homme n'est rien sans les hommes. Il vient dans leurs mains et s'en va dans leurs mains. La meilleure des connaissances est celle qui mène l'homme vers l'homme. Autrement dit, Le malade en quête de guérison ne peut pas être laissé à lui-même sans l'apport de ceux par qui il est arrivé au monde, où le rapport avec l'autre devient le support que le grand théologien Karl Rahner appelle le sacrement du frère dans un autre contexte. L'homme devient donc le sacrement du frère dans le contexte où il est capable de lui donner sens en l'accompagnant dans les états différents de sa vie. Dans ce sens, la guérison implique une dimension transcendantale. La santé est un bien qui se reçoit. L'action thérapeutique se structure de telle sorte que, dans sa dynamique anthropologique, le malade et sa communauté sont impliqués dans sa guérison. Le rôle de la famille dans la santé. Il y a le soutien social et émotionnel. La famille doit fournir un réseau de soutien essentiel pour la guérison des malades, le soulagement, du stress et le bien-être. Car, comme disait Joseph Ratzinger de Vénérée Mémoire, le pape Benoît XVI, la maladie la plus cruelle pour l'homme est la solitude. L'homme isolé est malade par soi-même. Deuxième élément, la transmission de comportements et de valeurs. Les habitudes de vie, les habitudes face à la maladie ou la question de la santé, les connaissances acquises au sein de la famille peuvent influencer la santé des individus. Le rôle de soignant. La famille joue un rôle essentiel pour aider à soigner. Influence sur la santé mentale, l'équilibre émotionnel. Autre dimension, l'impact de la santé sur la famille. Perturbation du fonctionnement familial. J'ai pris l'exemple tout à l'heure. S'il y avait un cas de malade dans notre assemblée, il y a donc un dérangement. La famille comprise comme sens biologique, social ou communauté croyante. L'impact économique. Les maladies peuvent entraîner des coûts financiers. On dit parfois pour supporter le mal et aider à guérir que la santé n'a pas de coût. Autrement, le coût ne doit pas être mis au devant pour reconquérir la santé. Le besoin d'adaptation. Les familles doivent s'adapter aux besoins de santé de leurs membres, ce qui peut nécessiter des changements dans leurs habitudes de vie, les routines et les relations. La santé comme impact sur la famille. Le concept de la santé de la famille englobe le bien-être physique, mental et social de tous les membres. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de l'absence de maladie, mais d'un état de bien-être général. D'ailleurs, la définition que donne l'OMS sur la question de la santé n'est pas seulement le mal physique, mais l'absence de bien-être. Ou mieux, quand quelqu'un se porte bien au niveau de la compréhension de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, c'est qu'il est dans l'équilibre du bien-être, compris comme l'accès à tout ce qui est nécessaire pour vivre épanoui. La famille et la santé humaine sont donc intimement liées. La famille joue un rôle crucial dans la promotion et la protection de la santé des membres. Il y a aussi le contexte socio-anthropologique. La famille africaine comme système de soins. La structure et le fonctionnement thérapeutique dans la famille africaine. La famille africaine, dans sa dimension élargie, constitue un système thérapeutique intégré où convergent plusieurs niveaux de soins. Le niveau préventif, le niveau curatif, le niveau spirituel. Les défis actuels. Il y a l'urbanisation, la migration et la modernisation qui viennent fragiliser le système traditionnel, l'éclatement géographique des familles, la perte de transmission des savoirs thérapeutiques ancestraux. Voilà. Amadou Ampateba m'a dit qu'un sage qui meurt en Afrique est une bibliothèque qui brûle. Si donc il n'y a pas une transmission des valeurs thérapeutiques ancestrales, il va sans dire que nous perdons aussi notre pharmacopée, capacité de tenir la vie et de l'organiser pour l'accompagner. La précarisation économique limitant l'accès aux soins. toutes ces mutations appellent une réflexion théologique dans le cadre de notre identité africaine et notre désir d'avoir une pastorale concrète et qui atteint l'homme et rejoint l'homme dans sa situation de vie. Proposition concrète. Comme proposition concrète aux enjeux, il faut d'abord comprendre avec le Concile Vatican II au numéro 37 de Sacrosanctum Concilium qu'aucune culture ne doit être mise en berne pour porter une valeur qui sauvegarde la vie. Je vous remercie.
Merci, merci Père Apollinaire Kouakou. Pour ceux qui dorment, réveillez-vous parce que nous entendons de très belles choses ce soir. Et sans plus tarder, nous allons écouter notre frère Joseph Kiambi.
Merci pour cette occasion et merci aux organisateurs de m'avoir donné la parole dans cette session, dans ces congrès, pour penser avec vous les défis théocatéchétiques pour une éducation à la fois transformante en Afrique. Je suis Joseph Ntumba, Chambi c'est mon poste-nom, prêtre de l'archidiocèse de Kananga en RDC et doctorant de dernière année à Louvain-la-Neuve. En guise de conclusion, j'évoque d'abord cette pensée chère au pape François. Il disait, ce que nous vivons, ce n'est pas seulement un changement d'époque, mais c'est une véritable époque de changement. Et lorsque nous lisons aussi la constitution pastorale Gaudium et Spes, il est écrit au paragraphe premier que la joie, les souffrances, les peines des hommes de ce temps sont aussi les joies et les souffrances des hommes de l'Église. Et aujourd'hui, nous ne pouvons pas engager l'action catéchétique, notre action pastorale, notre action évangélisatrice, sans penser à tous ces défis, à tous ces enjeux, pour reprendre les mots de Jean-Marc Ella, sans penser aux marges. On ne peut pas faire la théologie ou la catéchèse aujourd'hui dans des bureaux climatisés. Alors, mon approche, ma conférence a 3 petites parties. La première partie, je vais retracer avec vous quelques défis. Il y en a plusieurs, mais je vais me limiter à 3 défis que je juge importants pour notre pastoral aujourd'hui, pour notre catéchèse en Afrique. Après, au deuxième moment, je vais explorer avec vous les pistes pour le renouveau catéchétique en RDC. Et en troisième lieu, je proposerai quelques démarches catéchétiques pour une éducation transformante en Afrique. D'abord, les défis. L'éducation à la fois transformante, engageante en Afrique exige aujourd'hui une attention particulière aux questions, aux crises, aux problèmes que vivent les personnes. Il y a plusieurs défis en Afrique aujourd'hui, la pluralité religieuse, la croyance et la peur des mauvais esprits, la réconciliation, la paix et la justice, la pauvreté économique, matérielle, anthropologique, culturelle, mais aussi l'influence des médias sur les mentalités. Parce que tous ces défis, qu'on les veuille ou pas, influencent d'une manière ou d'une autre notre manière de penser, notre manière de croire et même notre manière de vivre notre foi. Mais je vais me permettre de me limiter à 3 défis pour ne pas abuser de votre temps malgré la fatigue. D'abord, les défis de la paix, de la réconciliation et de la justice. Comme vous le savez, dans les contextes africains, dans plusieurs pays, il y a des zones de violence, il y a des zones de guerre, il y a des zones de conflits. Et aujourd'hui, la catéchèse qui a pour but d'amener les personnes à la croissance, à la maturation de la foi, ne peut pas ignorer ces défis de la paix, de la réconciliation et de justice dans un pays qui est en proie à la violence. Et pour y arriver, si vous lisez l'exhortation post-apostolique Afrique Monus, on propose quelques pistes pour arriver à mettre en place, à relever ces défis de la paix, de la réconciliation et de la justice. Je me limiterai ici à deux petites pistes. D'abord, redécouvrir la place de la parole de Dieu dans notre vie chrétienne, dans la catéchèse, dans l'évangélisation, et aussi la place de l'Eucharistie, et surtout les sacrements de réconciliation, pénitence et réconciliation. Ainsi, une catéchèse soucieuse de l'articulation foi et vie, de la transformation des chrétiens dans le monde, doit mettre au centre de sa proposition un évangile de paix, un évangile de justice et aussi un évangile de réconciliation. Le deuxième défi est le défi éthique. Comme vous savez, dans nos pays, sans exagérer, peut-être ailleurs, mais je parle de mon expérience du Congo, je m'excuserai, mais aussi ces défis peuvent se retrouver ailleurs. Il y a notre système économique, il y a plusieurs conflits, mais il y a aussi plusieurs antivaleurs comme le tribalisme, la corruption, la mauvaise gestion des ressources humaines. Ces antivaleurs, comme vous savez, contredisent l'effervescence religieuse qui sévit en Afrique. Nous sommes dans un continent où les églises sont pleines, mais la question que nous pouvons nous poser est de savoir quelle est la qualité de notre foi. Est-ce que notre foi nous engage-t-elle à vivre concrètement, à relever les défis qui se posent dans notre société? Ainsi, je vous invite à repenser la catéchèse afin d'être à mesure de relever ces défis éthiques en rappelant la dimension transformante de la foi chrétienne et surtout en mettant au centre de la catéchèse la conversion. Parce que l'adhésion à la personne du Christ exige de la personne un engagement concret, une transformation des vies. Et le troisième défi, et le dernier, c'est le défi de la cohérence des vies. On constate qu'il y a un décalage entre notre manière de croire, nos célébrations liturgiques joyeuses, chantantes et dansantes, avec notre vécu quotidien. Et aujourd'hui, penser le défi de la cohérence des vies, c'est inviter les chrétiens à vivre en harmonie avec la foi professée et la foi célébrée. Alors, au regard de ces défis, de quelle manière notre foi en Jésus-Christ peut-elle nous engager à vivre en paix, à nous réconcilier avec nous-mêmes, avec les autres, avec Dieu, afin de mener une vie conforme aux exigences de l'Évangile? Cette question m'amène à quelques pistes que je propose pour une éducation à la fois transformante en Afrique. Je propose 3 défis, 3 pistes plutôt. La première piste, c'est la sécularité positive, promouvoir une sécularité positive. La deuxième piste, c'est lutter contre la psychodépendance spirituelle. Et la troisième piste, c'est relever la dimension relationnelle de la foi. D'abord, la promotion d'une sécularité positive. De quoi s'agit-il? Par sécularité positive, c'est un concept que je développe dans ma thèse. J'entends, il faut comprendre toute action religieuse dont le but est d'éveiller la conscience sur les impératifs d'action et de transformation de la foi chrétienne. Ça visait de montrer d'une part où commence l'action de Dieu et où commence l'action humaine. Pour vous aider à comprendre cela, je donne un exemple. S'il y a une érosion dans un quartier, faut-il prier ou faut-il d'abord travailler pour remblayer l'érosion? Et si un enfant est malade, faut-il d'abord l'amener à l'église pour la prière ou faut-il d'abord l'amener à l'hôpital et solliciter l'aide de Dieu pour qu'il puisse éclairer le travail des médecins? C'est à ces questions-là que j'invite à réfléchir. Il faut éveiller nos chrétiens sur ces sensibilités. La différence entre la dimension chrétienne et aussi la responsabilité humaine dans la transformation de la société. Parce que Dieu ne vient pas prendre notre place pour faire des choses qui sont à notre responsabilité, qui sont de notre responsabilité. C'est pourquoi je propose cette notion de sécularité positive pour purifier les images de Dieu et du Christ et même de l'Église qui sont dangereuses, non seulement pour une foi chrétienne vécue, mais aussi une foi chrétienne engageante. Il faut souligner alors que Dieu ne vient pas prendre la place de l'homme dans la transformation de la face de la terre. La deuxième piste, c'est la lutte contre les pratiques psychodépendance. J'appelle cela la psychodépendance spirituelle en Afrique. Par psychodépendance spirituelle, il faut entendre tout discours ou toute pratique dont le but est de créer, d'alimenter ou de susciter un conditionnement chez les personnes qui ont besoin de l'aide. Le but est de manipuler les personnes, de les fidéliser, de les clientéliser ou de les maintenir dans la dépendance. L'autorité religieuse peut se servir de plusieurs manipulations. Ça peut être des manipulations bibliques, avec l'argument c'est biblique, c'est écrit dans la Bible, on doit obéir à ça tel que c'est écrit. Ou spirituelles, bibliques ou théologiques, et aussi des manipulations juridiques et liturgiques pour maintenir les personnes sous sa coupe afin de bien les rançonner. Alors l'action catéchétique en Afrique doit inviter à lutter contre les pratiques psychodépendantes en Afrique. Il faut pour cela renouveler la catéchèse dans cette perspective en luttant contre les abus spirituels qui pullulent en Afrique. Initier aussi au discernement théologique, conscientiser les fidèles contre ces fléaux sociaux en les formant à l'esprit critique et doter la communauté chrétienne des instances de prise de décision dans un esprit collégial et aussi synodale pour prévenir les abus liés à la psychodépendance spirituelle. La troisième piste et la dernière, c'est déployer la dimension relationnelle de la foi. Là, je m'inspire de l'anthropologie Ubuntu, le fait d'être vraiment humain, Ubuntu. Au niveau personnel, la foi que la catéchèse veut approfondir et conduire à la maturation aidera la personne à façonner son identité, à entrer en relation avec Dieu, avec les prochains, à travers la contemplation, mais aussi à travers l'action. Il y a aussi l'adhésion à la foi. Notre adhésion à la foi doit pousser à vivre en harmonie avec les autres et avec Dieu. Il y a aussi l'éducation à la foi. L'éducation à la foi doit aussi prendre en considération la crise écologique aujourd'hui. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de la réconciliation avec soi-même, mais aussi de la réconciliation avec l'autre, avec les tout autres, avec Dieu, et la réconciliation avec les prochains. Je passe à la dernière partie de mon exposé. Je propose ici quelques démarches catéchétiques pour une annonce transformante en Afrique. Je propose 3 pistes. D'abord, l'écoute de la personne et de l'Esprit Saint déjà en œuvre dans sa démarche. On se rend compte que dans nos pratiques catéchétiques, quand les personnes viennent en catéchèse, ou les adultes ou les enfants, on a tendance à leur déjà bourrer les crânes avec autant de théories sans les écouter au préalable. Pour une éducation à la fois transformante, nous devons d'abord écouter les personnes qui sont en notre présence, écouter leur grammaire de vie, écouter leur vision de Dieu, leur vision de l'Église. C'est à partir de cette écoute des personnes et de l'Esprit Saint déjà à l'œuvre dans leur démarche qu'on pourrait alors faire connaître et approfondir la foi chrétienne. Il s'agit de la deuxième piste. À partir des sources de la foi, la tradition chrétienne, la Bible, les magistères, la théologie, etc., on propose maintenant, en deuxième position, aux personnes qui sont venues en catéchèse, on les aide à approfondir, non seulement à connaître, mais à approfondir leur foi. Et la troisième démarche consiste à faciliter l'appropriation et l'intégration de la foi dans la vie. La connaissance de la foi et l'approfondissement n'ont pas pour but en eux-mêmes, mais la connaissance de la foi et son approfondissement doivent nous inviter aussi à nous approprier l'héritage chrétien afin de mener une vie conforme aux exigences de l'Évangile, une vie réconciliée avec soi-même, avec les autres, avec les tout autres et avec les transcendants. Voilà quelques pistes que je propose pour une éducation à la fois transformante et je vous remercie pour votre attention.
C'est nous qui vous remercions, Père Joseph, et pour garder notre forme de conversation qui a commencé avec une femme, nous finissons par une femme. Sœur Grace Akuna, vous avez la parole.
We want to project kindly. Bring back the cable, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm called Grace Akuna John Emezi, Handmaids of the Holy Child Jesus. My presentation today is on ethical dilemma in rural clinical setting in Nigeria. So before I start this presentation, so that's the topic, ethical dilemmas in rural clinical setting in Nigeria. Actually, it's supposed to be Africa, but fortunately enough, I've worked in 3 African countries. I've worked in Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria. And since I became a religious, it's only once I've been posted to urban hospitals. So everything I'm going to present today is also what I saw in Kenya, what I saw in Ghana, and what is happening currently in Nigeria. Before I start, I want us to understand this keyword, which will drive it home better. When you talk about dilemma, it's a circumstance in which a choice must be made between 2 or more alternatives that seem equally undesirable. Please let us mark that word, undesirable. So we talk about medical ethics is a system of moral principles that apply to the practice that we, the healthcare workers, face when it comes to guidelines of healthcare. Ethics, we all know, guides all clinical behavior and patient's care. We have some core ethical principles: the autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and confidentiality. So dilemmas always arise from traditional beliefs and limited resources. This is what is very, very common in Africa. The issues of blood transfusion, we all understand Jehovah's Witness and they don't take blood, which we've got cases of women that have delivered and they are bleeding, but they are Jehovah's Witness. They say that they don't want that blood transfusion. So whether they are dying or not, they don't really care about it because of what their religion says. And their limited resources, you and I know, because all of us are from somewhere. So rural healthcare workers also lack these ethical trainings that are usually done. So statement of this is a pure research, and I'm very grateful to PACTPAN that challenged me to carry out this research. So in Nigeria, 70% of all Nigerians live in rural places. And we know that currently, according to UN, they say Nigerian population is 235 million ... So when you now check that number, and you have only 70% of those people, including me, living in rural places. So our healthcare system is on the source. We constantly face these ethical challenges, which now is being shaped by our culture and our religion. Following the scarce research, we don't have this ethics like a policy in our hospitals. Most of it is lacking. So I just want us to see this picture. When you look at this picture, so these are some of the ethical challenges that shape us when it comes to culture and religion. When you look at that, the first picture, you see those guys are in traditional bone setters. So sometimes when they have accident, they have open wounds. They go to those places, they come down with infection. At the end of the day, when they finish setting the bones, you see that their wounds take longer time to heal. You can see that little child smiling, who is being handled by, these local bone setters. And, the sad thing about this rural setting, they believe so much in these traditional healers, herbalists, and traditional birth attendants. Then when you look at the third picture, you can see it's just because that is a little bit blurry. When you look at it, you see that guy's leg towards the middle of the shaft is already gangrenous. It's black in color. These are the things that we face in Africa constantly. Kenyans call it waganga. We believe a lot in what do you call it? The Dibos call it dibia, native doctor. Yeah. So you can see that guy trying to conjure. So if I'm sick in the rural place, they believe that these people are better healers than those of us who are in the hospital. So those are the dilemmas that we constantly face. And you can see the roots that are there. When you talk about resource scarcity, it impacts clinical decision. Just look at this floor bed. These things are still happening in our country and other African countries. When you look at the first picture, you see that medical doctor trying to examine that lady, but when you look at the roof, it's as if the roof wants to, collapse and fall on the patient that the doctor is attending to. Then you can see that the first, by my right, we have 3 people using one bed. Then the other one, they are like 3, 2, then the other one. So this is very common in many African countries, even though that is Nigeria that I'm presenting about. Look at, this is a hospital. Looks like a mini camp. But you can see that 2 women are sharing one bed being attended by the doctor. When you look at the second picture, you see that little child. This is an improvise. This is what we do where we are. They are trying to get the baby's weight in a bucket, but with a weighing scale, suspending the baby up. And then this doctor trying to reach out to these people in the village, a little girl, because actually they know that they will not come to the hospital because they believe a lot in their traditional healers. So when it comes to the study objective, we have the general objective. The general objective is to examine the nature, cause, and implication of all these dilemmas that we, the health workers, face in rural places in Nigeria. We have specific objective to identify the common ethical dilemmas encountered in healthcare by healthcare workers in rural clinical settings in Nigeria, to assess the level of preparedness we, the health workers, are in managing these ethical dilemmas. Then to examine which ethical principles are most challenging to us who are in the rural place like where I am, to determine the relationship between the healthcare workers' social, demographic characteristics and the preparedness that we, the health workers, are using to manage our clients or patients. A research question came out with what ethical dilemmas are most common in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Ghana, at least those places I've worked. How prepared are we as health workers who are working in rural places? What ethical principle is the hardest to apply? Then, is there any link between the demographics and the preparedness of we who are working in the hospital to be able to manage the dilemmas that come up? So when we look, then we go to the methodology. Is a descriptive cross-sectional design. 81 health workers were used, inclusive of the medical doctors. Oh, I'm fast. Okay, sorry, they say I'm really very fast. Okay, so let me slow down a little bit. So these 81 people comprises of the medical doctors, the nurses, the midwives, the pharmacists, and the community health extension workers. This was carried out in Ezinihite. And you know that Nigeria is very huge. Then we use a local government where I am currently. That local government population of almost 200,000 is quite huge, and that's just one local government. Then random sampling were used. We used questionnaire. Then 1 or 2 people were interviewed, especially the people who are the traditional caregivers. Then the data was analyzed using this SPAS and a chi-square test. Then we had ethical consideration. We got approval from the hospital management board of all the hospitals that we used for this work. Conceptual framework, if we just look at it, the independent variable here, we have common ethical dilemmas encountered, level of our preparedness as health workers, ethical principles that are most challenging, the relationship between us who are the health workers, the social demographic attributes, and the preparedness that we are as healthcare workers to be able to face this dilemma. Then the independent variable, preparedness of healthcare workers to handle these ethical dilemmas that come to our hospitals. This table now is talking about common ethical dilemmas that we frequently encounter in our hospital. There are so many, but since I think maybe I have more time, I will run all of them and then I will tell us the ones that are most frequent. So the first is, sometimes we are forced to choose which patient to treat first due to financial resources. Even me, I do it. Being asked to perform tasks beyond your training or license, inability to provide care because patients cannot afford it, pressure from family members in making patient care decisions, lack of ethical guidance or support from leadership, compromise of confidentiality because of community closeness, because we're in the village, patients' refusal of treatment due to cultural or religious belief, official offering bribes from patients for better care. They do that all the time. Then difficulty on patients' part to understand informed consent decision. Handling cases which life-saving interventions are unavailable for us. So the one that came very frequently, sometimes we are forced to choose which patient to treat due to financial statements. I'm telling you, it's very difficult for those of us who are in the hospital, especially if the hospitals are being managed by the sisters. The villagers feel that it's their right and you must treat them. Even where I am currently, they keep telling us that, after all, this land that you guys are in was given to you by my grandfather, so you must treat me free. Then the other one is patients' refusal of treatment due to cultural and religious belief. We all understand this, right? That Africans have a lot of faith in their traditional healers, the herbalists, and all those people. Now that we are in the era of church, Pentecostalism too has also destroyed a lot of things. So a lot of people believe that when their pastors pray for them, they are good. So sometimes you are getting people when they are almost, somebody will say crossing the 11th gate. You see that person, when that person is almost dying, then they will bring the person to the hospital and want you to do magic, which is not possible. So the ones that frequently happen here now is that refusing of care and that triage decision, which I just explained. So how do these health workers perceive this level of preparedness to handle this? Looking at this, majority of healthcare workers are prepared to handle ethical issues. When we look at the percentages, feel prepared to handle ethical challenges at work. 86.42 say that they are ready. Then receive formal training on medical ethics. Luckily enough, because all medical doctors, sister, I'm sure you testify, they teach you guys this in medical college. So the doctors scored more when it comes to this. 90.12% say that they receive medical training. Then presence of written ethical guidelines. We say yes, but in our hospital have been in existence for almost 36 years before I came. There wasn't anything like that. So majority of healthcare workers from the research say that they are prepared to handle any challenge that comes to them. Then challenging ethical principles in clinical setting. The most challenging is confidentiality. Why? Because we are in the village. There was a lady that came to a hospital. She was pregnant with twins. She brought her scan and told me, sister, you have to hide this scan result. I said, why? She said, because she doesn't want the nurses who are from her place to know that she's pregnant with twins. Now, sister is rushing me, but before she told me, she was talking very fast. So that's part of it. So she feels that, I know that is our challenge is that many people have problem with confidentiality. When you look at this what I've written there, the core principles, confidentiality is 35.80%, while others are just small like that, because you know that they know themselves and they'll talk about their diagnosis, which people are not comfortable with. Then when you look at this, the demographic characteristics, the age, year of experience, CADA, we put it according to age gap. So people that are up to 46 years old, yeah, they understand better than other people. Then the doctors were the majority that helped us in doing the research. And the key findings after all the research, we discovered that the frequent dilemma we usually encounter is a refusal of care, because they believe so much in their traditional givers, their pastors, pastresses. What is reigning now is Mama G.O. and Papa G.O. So they are more ones than us who are trained. Then we all stand over rights, whatever you are going to tell them. Then autonomy versus beneficence is fitting. The healthcare workers say that they are prepared, and then confidentiality is the hardest. Discussion. Ethical decisions shaped by local norms, cultural practices, complicate care delivery, training improves preparedness, need for support structures for ethical activities, which we don't have in most of our hospitals in the rural places. Then complex balancing individual right and community, because we are in the community. So when you look at this quickly, you see that these people are not even trained. They are neither, I don't even understand whether they are TB or what. Look at what they are wearing. They are wearing hijab. I don't have problem if it's a Muslim or what, but just look at it. You know that the environment doesn't look like hospital. Then when you look at the first picture, you will see that woman is in a more places. Those are the things that we struggle with, those traditional birth attendants. We even go to them and tell them, we want to train you people. We are not taking your job from you, so that you still remain and give those people the care, but you must carry out in a hygienic way. You look at those are traditional birth attendants who the way they even take care of those people are very scary. Look at that local midwife. The way she's dressed, she's neither a nurse or community health worker, talk less of doctor or midwife. Look at this baby. Look at all they are wearing. That woman is wearing gloves. And I'm telling you that glove she's wearing, she'll use it and attend to 10 patients, increasing the rate of HIV. Look at these ones with a lot of load where they are attending to them. And I'm telling you, those women believe so much in them. Recommendation of this whole research, we are proposing that more healthcare workers are trained on competence when it comes to ethics. Then we should develop local protocols, engage our traditional and religious leaders, improve our infrastructure. Many of us, even when you rush to a hospital, we are struggling to see whether our oxygen, there's something in the bottle. Then strengthening the ethical policy. Please, I want us to quickly look at this. We want to train our staff to be able to incorporate orthodox and traditional. This woman was taken care of in one of the biggest teaching hospitals in Nigeria. When she came to hospital, immediately she entered. The first nurse that told her bluntly that this is Abba. Abba is called psoriasis in English. They told her that they did it. And I'm telling you, this woman was already assessing a lot of drugs. Them in hand, they didn't know what to do. Even when I Googled one of the drugs that was very strange, I discovered it was a cancer drug that we were giving her once every Thursday. Then when the relatives came and carried this lady, after just 2 months, she's the person on the other picture. The whole thing
Sister,
went.
the conclusion. Conclusion, please.
Yeah. Okay, so this is us now trying to engage the traditional leaders and the religious leaders. Look at the pictures. Conclusion, ethical dilemmas are common in rural settings in Africa, not just Nigeria. Cultural and religious beliefs shape also our responses. Then preparedness exists between, needs reinforcement. This show we are supposed to do. Then we're supposed to collaborate with all healthcare workers to be able to fight these ethics and the dilemma that we face in our hospitals. Thank you.
Merci, merci, Sister Grace. Merci. Désolée pour la frustration de ce qu'on a préparé, qu'on aimerait partager, mais que le temps ne permet pas. Non, it's good, it's good. OK? Donc, nous allons applaudir encore tous nos intervenants. Le temps ne sera pas assez parce qu'il y a un deuxième groupe qui doit passer. Mais on va donner la parole à l'Assemblée. Une fois encore, ne soyez pas dans la logique d'interrogation, mais de commentaires, d'approfondissement, de comment est-ce que ça vous a touché, voilà, dans ce qui a été partagé. Vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all presenters. We have all listened and learned a lot from you. I commended your efforts. Sister that just finished a presentation, thank you for this. I mean, this is the reality of what is happening. But you have given this. I know the government has failed us. There's nothing we can do about that. But can we continue to push it to the government? Because if you know that when you go to the hospital, you will be taken care of. You are not, I mean, the level of being scared, the level of staying at home may reduce. But you even go to the hospital and they are not attended to you, nobody to attend to you. So the low money, I mean, low income you have, you're going back to take care of yourself with the medical, I mean, with these practitioners. So please, maybe campaign upon campaign is also required for our government so that they take care of these people. Again, anyway, guilty because you, the health practitioners, also told us that when we take a lot of drugs, we are prone to cancer. Our kidneys will damage. So we are also scared sometimes to go to the hospital because you give us a lot of tablets. So we are scared. So I don't know how you will address that. Like myself, I take a lot of Father Adudu. I don't know whether you know Father Adudu.
Merci, Titi.
Sister Titi Layo, drugs are good. Drugs are good. Don't be scared, please.
Greetings, everybody. Okay, I would like to throw my light on the situation of children's rights and well-being in Africa. I am always very interested in discussions like this, and I want to put it to all of us here as individuals. Firstly, as parents, as mothers, and as fathers, we actually need to work on ourselves to train these children in the way they should go. It is unfortunate that these days, when you go for liturgical, for the Eucharistic celebration, children no longer get settled on one point. You see them moving around in the church. And when you try to tell the parent that, oh, this thing is wrong, they say, no, leave the child. He is just a child. We've forgotten that a child can easily copy something while they are still young. We tend to ignore the parental care. So please, let us try to take care of our children. When you go to Mass, hold these children, put them aside, give them instructions on where to go and what to do. Then secondly, we're talking about sensitizing women and young girls in the society. Now, look at it today. Abuse have gone from the physical world into the social media. I think we need more sensitization on technology facilitated gender-based violence. These issues need to be addressed so that when you train your child in the house, they should be mindful of what they go into social media to watch and to look at it. So mothers, please, let's lay more emphasis on taking care of our children. The way you treat the boy child is the same way you treat the girl child. And men should be sensitized more on the importance of treating the woman right. Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the presenters, Father Moyo from Zimbabwe. I will focus on the two presentations of Father Joseph and Father Paul, and I have 2 points. The first one is on this digital world and evangelization, which, as it has been said again and again, is both a challenge and an opportunity. When you look at most of us in the church, adults, most of us are digital immigrants. And we're the ones who are like moving the church forward. We're the ones who are giving even the vision. Most of the digital natives, the young ones, are really not in the forefront. So I think it is important that we realize that there is a big change that is taking place. Now we have digital parishes, digital parish priests, and things are changing. So I think we have to reimagine the church in this digital world and even form digital missionaries, especially maybe us who are really digital immigrants. That's my first point. My second point, maybe question as well, Father Joseph, is on we're faced with this challenge. Growth in numbers, but we're worried about the quality of the faith. In your propositions, I didn't get it well, maybe just because of the translation. You spoke of positive secularity. I think we need to rethink our content and method. Because I didn't hear the content, the kerygma. I think if we can try so many things, but if we don't have the correct and the simple content and method that will make us or create or produce mature disciples and apostles, we may still continue in the same situation. Thank you so much.
Ok, bien, merci. Sœur
you,
Joséphine, merci.
Thank you so much. Just the last, please.
Merci. Père Dominique Rosario, de l'Institut pontifical Jean-Paul II, section Afrique francophone de Cotonou. Dans mes enseignements, j'enseigne aussi la bioéthique. Et après Covid, l'expérience de Covid, la question de la maladie, de la santé, des soins est devenue une question récurrente avec nos étudiants. Et la confiance que les gens avaient dans la médecine moderne semble disparaître. Parce que le débat autour des vaccins forcés qu'on a eu n'est pas de même niveau en Occident, en Europe, comme en Afrique. Et quand on suit de près ce qui se passe en Europe, on est tenté de dire qu'on s'est trompé en Afrique ou bien on est toujours des cobayes. Alors, en suivant la présentation de la sœur, je voudrais encourager à ne pas voir totalement négatif nos tradithérapeutes. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, en Afrique, dans plusieurs endroits, il y a des institutions qui essaient d'améliorer la formation en tradithérapie et même de l'associer à la médecine moderne. Donc voilà, je pense que c'est un aspect qu'il faut approfondir. Je ne dis pas que ce côté soit économiquement gratuit, mais c'est très important aussi qu'il faut développer quelque chose à ce niveau et ne pas voir tout simplement de la négativité à ce niveau. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, nous avons beaucoup d'avantages, surtout dans la biomédecine, l'utilisation des nouvelles technologies appliquées à la médecine. Mais toujours est-il qu'il y a des peurs et des réticences. La confiance ne tombe pas d'en haut. Merci.
Bien.
Thank
Alors, comme je disais tout à l'heure, nous allons avoir toujours des frustrations par rapport à cet exercice, non? Je remercie nos intervenants. Pour tous ceux qui avaient quelques préoccupations, vous pouvez vous adresser directement à l'un ou à l'autre à la pause. On va remercier le panel et puis donner le temps à l'autre groupe de venir s'installer. On peut les ovationner pour le travail fait. It's okay. Yes. Another group.
So thank you so much, the presenters. You have done wonderful. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the listeners, for the active participation. The session is done now, and we want to move into the almost the last one because we still have a number of activities before the day goes. We've not had Mass and the commissioning that will be done later. I kindly request each one of us, just stand from wherever you are, just stand so that you stretch a bit. Just stand from wherever you are, because we don't want to give you time to go out. We want to move in, but you can stretch in the house as we take the photo with the presenters of today. We can line here, all of us, we take a photo, but the remaining mankind, just stand and stretch. We are moving into the very last, a very interesting session before we go for Mass. Thank you.
For the traditional medical, you have to. We are waiting to. Yes, I can put your. Take the photo. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have things. We want to move. So, pilgrims of hope in history. Thank you so much, cameraman. Thank you so much. We want to move. We want to move. Almost the very last and the most interesting session, Pilgrims of Hope in History. Allow me to invite the following members to come forward. Father Emmanuel Katongole, Joan Mwaura, Collins Nwafo, and Bill Kavanaugh, and Madam Martin Gokra. Kindly, if your name is called, come forward. I need you, just me. Come forward, come forward. We want to move the session. Madam Martin Gokra, if you are around, Bill Cavanaugh, Collins Nwafo, Joan Maura, and Emmanuel Katongole. Where are they? Thank you so much.
Bien, est-ce que tous les présentateurs sont ici? Il nous manque encore Martine Gokra. Elle arrive. Bill Cavanaugh. C'est ça? Bill Cavanaugh. Collins.
I'm told a number of people are out, and so we are bringing
Et
them.
puis Joanne Moira. Voilà. OK. Veuillez avancer.
Kindly let us join. Let us go in.
C'est la dernière session de notre congrès. Alors, courage. Courage pour la dernière session. Donc, nous laissons nos panélistes s'installer pour nous entretenir sur les pèlerins de l'espérance dans l'histoire. Nous attendons d'autres intervenants.
If you are out, presenters who are out,
est-ce que les traducteurs
Father
sont
Ali, come in. We want everybody in now. If you are out, members who are out, please. I don't know him. Father, you are needed there. You are presenting. Yes, go in front. We are waiting.
Courage pour la dernière session. Courage pour la dernière session. On sent la fatigue, non, de la semaine, mais on y est presque. On y est presque. Encore un petit effort. Même pour nos traducteurs aussi, encore un petit effort.
We need people inside. We need people inside. Kindly. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I understand. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
OK, donc nous allons commencer bientôt. Je vois des gens à la porte. Veuillez bien rentrer. Si c'est Joséphine, nous allons commencer. Nous avons déjà 4 panélistes présents, donc nous allons commencer. Donc sans plus tarder, en suivant l'ordre, nous allons écouter maintenant Martine Gokra. Martine Gokra, si vous êtes prête, vous avez la parole. Oui, appuie. Ah oui, c'est bon.
Alors, bonsoir à tous. Il m'a été demandé ce soir de vous parler de mémoire et d'espoir. Mémoire et espoir. Alors, je m'en vais vous poser une petite question. Vous n'êtes pas obligé de répondre. Mais que chacun de nous, étant à sa place, puisse faire cet exercice simple. Il s'agira de relever le fait marquant pour vous ces 5 ou ces 2 dernières années. Un fait marquant dans le monde, sur le continent ou même dans votre pays. On peut même descendre encore dans vos différentes familles. Alors là, on perçoit automatiquement que si nous parlons de faits marquants, il y a certaines choses, peut-être une chose qui va surgir. Et cette chose, où est-ce que nous irons chercher, où est-ce que nous sommes allés chercher cette chose qui émerge? Ça peut être une ou même 2 choses qui nous ont profondément marqués. Ces choses qui nous ont marqués nous ont été données, peut-être tout à l'heure, après cette question, par ce qu'on va appeler la mémoire. Alors, qu'est-ce que c'est que la mémoire? Notre mémoire, c'est quoi? Pourquoi parlons-nous de mémoire? Et dans tous les domaines, on parle de mémoire. Pourquoi? Parce que la mémoire fait partie de nous-mêmes. Donc la mémoire, c'est la fonction qui nous permet d'encorder. Et encorder, ça veut dire enregistrer. D'enregistrer, de conserver, de restituer après ces informations. Lorsqu'on enregistre, la mémoire va nous ramener à une visualisation de ce que nous avons enregistré. Et qu'est-ce que nous enregistrons? Nous enregistrons nos expériences. Nous enregistrons des choses que nous avons vécues de façon collective, comme de façon individuelle. Parce qu'on a la mémoire collective, on a la mémoire individuelle. Et lorsque nous visualisons et que ces choses remontent en termes d'information, nous allons faire appel à notre souvenir. Donc la mémoire va nous emmener à nous souvenir de quelque chose qui s'est passé, d'un fait auquel nous avons assisté, vécu. Donc c'est l'ensemble de ces expériences ou de ces connaissances qui alimentent notre mémoire et qui, heureusement ou malheureusement, nous font vivre ou nous accompagnent au quotidien de notre vie. Et quels sont ces faits? Chacun de nous les connaît plus ou moins. Si nous entrons dans le domaine de la culture, en muséologie, nous allons parler de faire de sauvegarde de la mémoire collective. La mémoire collective, ce sont des expériences vécues par une collectivité, par un groupe. C'est l'histoire de ce groupe. La sauvegarde de la mémoire de ce groupe pourra se faire au travers des objets témoins. Et c'est sur la base de ces objets témoins que nous sauvegardons et que nous allons transmettre à la génération future qui fait quoi? L'histoire de ce peuple. Donc la mémoire nous ramène toujours à regarder, à visualiser, à comprendre ce qui a été fait. Donc parler de mémoire et d'espoir, c'est parler de passé et de futur. Comment ce passé s'est vécu? Qu'est-ce que j'ai pris dans ce passé? Qu'est-ce qui est resté dans ce passé? En ce moment précis, la mémoire peut être douloureuse. Lorsque nous parlons de guerre, nous parlons d'homicide, nous parlons de génocide, nous parlons de tuerie, nous parlons de toutes ces choses assez compliquées que nous n'arrivons pas à digérer. On peut avoir une mémoire très douloureuse. Alors on se questionne et par moments, ces choses-là nous reviennent. Que nous l'ayons vécu directement ou indirectement, que nous l'ayons vu ou que cela soit raconté, il y a forcément des traces qui restent et qui ont du mal parfois à partir. On a la mémoire aussi joyeuse, de la manière dont elle peut être douloureuse, la mémoire également peut être joyeuse. Et cette mémoire joyeuse va nous aider à construire notre avenir. En ce moment précis, la mémoire devient le point d'ancrage de l'espoir. Et le point d'ancrage, c'est un lieu de fixation naturel qui nous permet vraiment d'avancer. on ne peut pas avancer sans mémoire. On ne peut pas avancer sans avoir vécu certaines choses et sans avoir pris la peine de corriger certaines choses dans ce que nous avons vécu, de douloureux comme de joyeux. Ainsi donc, dans un mariage, par exemple, la mémoire va aider le couple à rattraper ou à éviter le divorce ou à faire des concessions pour avancer. Donc, ils vont commencer à se rappeler de ce qui a été fait. Donc, dans ces souvenirs-là, chercher qu'est-ce qui a été joyeux pour nous et qu'est-ce qui ne l'a pas été. Au niveau de l'Église, c'est pareil. L'Église est beaucoup critiquée. On a des scandales un peu partout. On a des choses qui choquent. Dès que nous sommes face à ces choses, nous sommes choqués. Alors on se dit, est-ce qu'on doit continuer à croire en cette Église ou nous devons laisser les choses se faire ainsi? La mémoire va nous aider. Et si nous prenons le cas de l'Église catholique, cette mémoire-là, on sait qu'est-ce qui a été fait par nos pères, par ceux qui nous ont dévancés. Et donc, on va puiser dans cette mémoire pour dire, là où nous sommes, nous restons là. Pourquoi? On va dépasser les plus de 2000 ans d'évangélisation, non, mais de façon concrète. Et je prends par exemple le cas de la Côte d'Ivoire. Nous avons vécu une crise assez terrible ici en 2002. Et là, je fais appel maintenant à la mémoire collective. On l'a vécu, mais peut-être tout le monde ne l'a pas vécu de la même manière. Mais comment l'Église a réussi quand même à continuer à vivre? Comment l'Église, sur des valeurs assez solides, a réussi à garder cette confiance et ce respect? Des personnes ont été accueillies dans des églises. Des personnes ont été hébergées par des prêtres, par des religieux, religieuses. Ces personnes ont été nourries. Quand nous prenons l'éducation au niveau de la Côte d'Ivoire, dès l'instant qu'on dit « mon enfant va à l'école des pères ou à l'école des sœurs », il y a un respect. À cause de quoi? De ce qui a été fait par la première génération de prêtres ou la première génération de sœurs qui ont dirigé cette école ou qui ont entretenu les enfants qui étaient dans cette école. Automatiquement, la confiance s'installe. Et cette confiance fait qu'on continue de croire en l'Église catholique en Côte d'Ivoire, malgré certaines choses qu'on pourrait peut-être qualifier de difficiles ou de compliquées. Donc, on ira toujours chercher dans la mémoire. Et cette mémoire, qu'elle est douloureuse, qu'elle soit douloureuse ou joyeuse, tant qu'on ne fait pas le pas de revenir et de guérir certaines choses, elle nous rattrapera à un carrefour certain. Et là encore, je repars en 2002. En 2002, quand la guerre éclatait, il y avait plusieurs parmi nous qui étaient dans la ville où il y a eu, dans les villes où il y a eu vraiment ces guerres-là. Alors, il a fallu se déplacer. Mais jusqu'à présent, il y a certains qui n'ont pas encore fait le retour. Il n'y a plus de guerre, les gens sont repartis dans ces villes, mais c'est encore difficile pour certaines personnes de repartir. Tant qu'ils ne feront pas ce retour, c'est difficile d'avancer. Difficile d'avancer, ça m'emmène à vous présenter deux tableaux que nous étudions beaucoup en muséologie. Le premier tableau, c'est l'oiseau mythique que nous connaissons, que presque tous les Akans connaissent, et qui est le symbole de la royauté à l'est de la Côte d'Ivoire. Il s'agit du Sankofa. Le Sankofa est cet oiseau mythique qui a cette possibilité de regarder en arrière et de regarder devant. On le dit de façon littérale, très simple, c'est que je pars récupérer ce que j'ai laissé. Mais en réalité, j'avance sans oublier d'où je viens, j'avance sans oublier ce qui fonde mon histoire, ce qui fonde cette mémoire qui m'interpelle ou se fait dans cette mémoire qui m'interpelle et qui me donne la force d'avancer. Donc avancer ici est l'espoir, mais le fait qu'il regarde derrière, c'est sa mémoire qu'il consulte. Et c'est cette mémoire qui va construire cette personne, c'est cette mémoire qui va actionner ou activer cette personne à une prise de décision certaine. Le second tableau est la porte que nous trouvons à l'entrée des grandes cours de chefferie en pays sénoufo. Et là, c'est au nord de la Côte d'Ivoire. Quand nous prenons cette porte, nous avons le nombril d'une femme à l'intérieur de la porte. Et dans ce nombril de cette femme, on a des traits. Et ces traits qui vont relier les 4 points de la terre. Et la symbolique, c'est que quel que soit là où je pars, je n'oublie jamais d'où je viens. Je viens de quoi? Je viens d'un nombril, lequel? Celui d'une femme. Et la femme ici est symbolisée par la terre. Alors je viens d'une terre. Et cette terre qui m'a nourri, cette terre qui m'a vu naître, cette terre dans laquelle mon cordon ombilical a été enterré, cette terre, je n'oublie pas. Même si je pars au nord, au sud, à l'est, à l'ouest, je n'oublie jamais ce qui me relie à ma terre. Et là, c'est la mémoire qui m'emmène à ne pas oublier. Alors, cette mémoire douloureuse ou joyeuse, je dois continuer à vivre. Et continuer à vivre, je fais appel à ce que j'appelle l'espérance. Et l'espérance, on a l'habitude de le dire, ne trompe pas. L'espérance ne déçoit pas. L'espérance se construit. L'espérance se désire. L'espérance se patiente. Et l'espérance est patience. Et c'est cette espérance qui, en réalité, me fait vivre. Et c'est cette espérance qui me fait croire que demain sera meilleur. C'est cette espérance qui me fait croire que, quelles que soient les guerres, quel que soit ce que je rencontre, quel que soit ce que mon Église rencontre, quel que soit ce que ma communauté ou ma famille rencontre, demain sera meilleur. Mais pour que demain soit meilleur, il y a ce devoir de mémoire à faire de façon collective comme individuelle qui m'aidera à. Et face à tous les défis auxquels le monde est confronté, des défis qui sûrement sont cachés dans notre mémoire douloureuse, dont nous avons du mal à en guérir. Donc ces défis qui se muent en ce qu'on appelle la dépression, le chômage et tout ce que nous connaissons comme des blessures intérieures et tout ce qui va avec. Je ferai face à ces défis en prenant conscience que réellement je peux avancer, ou du moins face à ces défis, l'Église va me proposer l'espérance. Et cette espérance, je vais aller tirer dans l'histoire des différents peuples que Dieu a fait sortir de certaines situations assez compliquées. Et alors, l'histoire de ces peuples va m'alimenter. Et l'histoire, c'est la mémoire. Sans mémoire, il n'y a pas d'histoire. Un peuple sans mémoire est un peuple qui ne vit pas. Un peuple sans mémoire est un peuple déséquilibré. Un peuple sans mémoire est un peuple perdu. Un peuple sans mémoire est un peuple sans vie. La mémoire, c'est la vie. Et la mémoire actionne l'espérance. Je vous remercie.
Merci Martine. Nous allons écouter maintenant Bill. Bill Kava, yes.
Hi, my name is Bill Cavanaugh. I am professor at DePaul University and director of the Center for World Catholicism and Intercultural Theology there, which technically makes me Stan Chu Elo's boss. But as we all know, I do what Stan tells me to do. So I imagine everybody in this room has some experience of that. So this is my third Congress, and I've listened and learned a lot at the previous conferences and made a lot of friends. So I really thank you for your hospitality. I've been asked to talk about idols because I recently published a big book with Oxford University Press called The Uses of Idolatry. And it's an extended and interdisciplinary argument that we don't live in a secularized world, but one in which worship has migrated to other objects besides God. So in this 10 minutes, I'm going to summarize the argument, so 500 pages in 10 minutes, and discuss its relevance to Africa and show how the argument is connected to the theme of hope. So the story that Westerners like to tell about themselves is that we are disenchanted, to use Max Weber's word. So the story goes like this. Once we believed in gods and demons and spirits, but now through science and capitalism, we have become rationalists and materialists. Religion is bound to fade away. According to the philosopher Charles Taylor, religious belief is still an option, but in the West, it's merely optional. So we have become what he calls buffered selves, who no longer believe we are penetrated by spirits. So for those who still believe in God, prayer and sacraments affect changes in our minds, but not out there in the external world. So we no longer believed in charged objects like saints' relics. So any hope that we have must be hope for humans to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. That's the way the story goes anyway. So in my book, I'm arguing that even Weber and Taylor don't really buy that story. Taylor's a Catholic. Weber is an atheist, but neither of them really buys that story. Weber writes, quote, "Many old gods ascend from their graves and take the form of impersonal forces," unquote. And he's talking about capitalism. He's talking about nation states. They've replaced God. And he concludes pessimistically that humans will always be dominated by our own creations. Taylor allows that consumerism has become what he calls almost a stronger form of magic than Catholic sacraments. Thank you. He writes on page 768 of his massive book, A Secular Age, that those who confine themselves to the immanent frame, in fact, are responding to transcendent reality, but misrecognizing it. They don't think they're responding to God, but they are. So as in the Bible, what is important is not what people believe, but how they act, or not what people say they believe anyway, but how they act. So I argue that this insight, if taken seriously, means that we don't live in a secular age, we live in an idolatrous one, where worship has not declined, but it's migrated to other places like the state and the market and technology and celebrity and so on. So our condition in the West is not disenchantment, but misenchantment. It's worshiping the wrong things. And this insight is not new. Pope Francis hardly ever talked about the world economy without using the language of idolatry. So I work this idea out in detailed chapters on nationalism and consumer culture as two of the prominent idolatries that typify our era. So I examine, for example, a whole host of scholars who argue that nationalism is a religion, and in fact is the most powerful religion in many countries. And I examine Marx's idea of commodity fetishism, the idea that products take on life while life is drained away from the laborers who make them. And I show that the Bible anticipated this critique, as in Psalm 135 or 115 as well, where those who attribute life to idols become lifeless themselves. And this dynamic is especially prevalent in an online economy where one relates only to images of products while the laborers remain hidden and often exploited. So one click and a new cell phone appears on my doorstep like magic, while the Congolese laborer who mined the cobalt to make it run, earning $3 a day, is invisible to me. So African laborers are often exploited by this economy, but the larger narrative of enchantment and disenchantment also works against Africa. So you have this dichotomy of a supposedly rational and disenchanted West and an supposedly enchanted Africa where spirits and charged objects abound. So by questioning this myth of disenchantment, I hope to break down those dichotomies and show that we're really not so different. My cell phone is a charged object if ever there was one. The analysis of idolatry helps level the playing field between the West and the rest of the world, and between so-called non-believers and believers. So I'm arguing that we all worship, and we all worship more or less badly. So the language of idolatry helps initially sound like a message of hope, and indeed there are plenty of instances, both in the Bible and in the history of colonialism, that idolatry critique has been violent, right? The natives are heathen idol worshipers and they have to be civilized by force, all that sort of thing. But I emphasize in the book that idolatry critique, because it blurs the line between believers and non-believers, contains a moment of sympathy. So you can see this in Acts 17 with Paul and the Athenians. He says that idol worship is evidence that we're all longing for God, and the ubiquity of worship indicates a deep longing in the human heart for the transformation of our lives. So we all worship, but we all worship badly to greater and lesser degrees. So idolatry critique is best understood as self-critique, as it was for the Israelites, an exercise in humility and turning our lives toward God. So I'm going to conclude by connecting my analysis of idolatry to hope in two ways. First, there is no disenchanted secular fate to which the whole world must eventually succumb. Africa is not fated to take the same road to secularization that the West has supposedly taken. It's possible, of course, to dismiss all of this evidence of the ubiquity of worship by concluding, as with Sartre, that the longing for God is there, but it's absurd. It's a cosmic joke played on us in a universe where there is no God. But I suggest that the most economical explanation for the need to worship something that transcends ourselves is the existence of something that transcends ourselves, right? God. So the universe is not a joke, but a comedy. It's not a tragedy, but a drama in which love has. So the tale of disenchantment traps us in this immanent box of our own making, which the God revealed in Jesus Christ helps us to escape. And so the second connection and final connection to hope that I'm going to make today it refers to the final chapter of the book, which is about that the remedy for idolatry is not evacuating the spiritual from the material, but rather a sacramental view of the world in which we practice the presence of God in things without making a God of things. African cultures, I think, are well suited to a sacramental view of the world, the interpenetration of the real. I try to specify, however, not just a general sacramentality, but a worldview based in the incarnation of Jesus Christ and the practice of the sacraments of the Church. So idolatry attempts to reach up and seize divinity and bring it into human grasp. But the incarnation is God's self-emptying descent into creation, offering communal participation in God's life as a gift to be received. So the sacraments are the continuation of the incarnation, and in the Eucharist especially, we enter the body of Christ and learn to see our sisters and brothers, especially the most marginalized, as sacraments of Christ himself, as Matthew 25 makes clear. The marginalized are sacraments of Christ. And the sacraments, eschatology, from hope, in other words. Both sacraments and eschatology say that what you see is not all there is. We see bread, and to resist idolatry is to stop constructing the gods that we think.
Hello everyone, Collins. Ikoku Nwafo. I'm a Nigerian. Doing my doctoral research in the Faculty of Theology and Religious Studies at Catholic University of Leuven, Belgium. Here this evening, some reflection from my project, my research that focuses on developing a training model for chaplains and pastoral caregivers and priests on how to help young people who are contemplating suicide. And I have titled this paper that I'm going to present, Hope, Religion, and the Good Life in Lagos, a part. Most Nigerians here, we agree with me that we are facing growing socio-economic challenges in Nigeria, and the consequences we see in several ways. The government is trying their best, but then different people perceive it in different ways and experience it in diverse ways. I point out just one of the consequences of our challenges in Nigeria, which has to do with what we call the Japa phenomenon, which is a term countries to seek better opportunities. And there's a distinction between what we term better life, different from better life. Better life in Nigeria is a colloquial term that simply refers to the good life. And that is the focus of my work. What is this good life for young people that I interviewed in Nigeria, particularly Lagos State? So I use a semi-structured interview to 45. And this reflection is mainly on 30 participants within my context of study. And the initiating question and focus is always to simply ask, what is better life to you? And that we can also ask each other here. This allows them to be able to express themselves and discuss as much as they can. For theory, where I combined the capability, the good life approach first of Edward Skidelsky and Robert Skidelsky, in line with that of the capability approach by Amartya Sen. For Sen, she tend to focus more on human freedom and their capacity to aspire on what they call valuable functioning. While for the Skidelskis, they lens where they presented 7 basic goods for them that determines having a good life. And that include health, security, respect, personality, freedom, leisure, and then one's harmony with nature. All these they consider are essential and valuable components of desiring for a life worth living. For my participants, their understanding of what good life has to do with having good education, good health, emotional stability, having good family, and then also economic stability. For them, these are essential components of the good life. The pursuit of success is amplified by media portrayal, as most people will agree with me. For example, the Nollywood industry, and also in social media, as we see. And then the influence of prosperity gospel teachings that Professor Udozo and others already pointed out. These are the frames that tend to frame wealth as a sign of divine favor. And these cultural scripts, while offering hope to some, also contribute to unrealistic expectations, and for many, deep frustration when these aspirations remain unfulfilled. Suicide, as if we agree with me, remain a complex phenomenon, not just in Nigeria, but in the world generally. But here in Africa, particularly, I'm speaking with some certainty where I'm coming from, suicide is often underreported due to stigma, restrictions, and sometimes religious prohibitions. Several scholars tend to say that the space between a person's aspiration, their actual capabilities, and the freedom to achieve their valued functionings is where vulnerability to mental distress and suicidal ideation often arises. These views and other studies, they highlight that the feelings of hopelessness and mental pain are significant drivers of suicidal ideation. The persistent gap between ideation on the one hand and their lived realities foster a sense of defeat. Yet, amidst this despair, a critical finding emerged from our studies, and that is that the role of hope, particularly religious hope, as a buffer against complete hopelessness, central to everyday life, not just in Lagos, not just in Nigeria, but I think in Africa. In the face of systemic hardship, religion offers not only explanations, but also paths for meaning-making, emotional resilience, and community belonging. Several of my participants spoke of how religious beliefs reframe their understanding of the good life. That is, shifting it from being rooted in faith. In this way, religion tempers the frustration of unmet material aspirations and reduces the sense of failure or worthlessness. Also, religious spaces serve as social networks that reinforce hope. They offer support structure, shared narratives of overcoming adversity, and a framework that condemns suicide, framing life as sacred and worth. Yet, culturally resonant avenue for prevention. When exacerbate despair, when promised breakthroughs fail to materialize, religious leaders, mental health practitioners, and policymakers must engage critically with the role of religion, supporting those aspects that promote resilience while addressing narratives that inadvertently fuel unrealistic expectations and disappointments. We can offer alternative paths to mental health and suicide prevention in case of significant structural hardship as we find ourselves in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Collins. Joanne.
So as the projection gets ready, I welcome you to the presentation, and it is titled Evangelization and Leadership. I will explore with you the formative years of the Assumption Sisters of Nairobi, beginning with their foundation in 1953 to the end of the first term of their first canonically elected leaders. What is central to this presentation is the one side of my slide, and then on the other side of my slide is the motto or the spirit of the institute, which is love, service, and self-sacrifice. So, who are the Assumption Sisters of Nairobi? This is a religious institute of consecrated African women founded in Kenya in the academic. We are marked by a culturally unfamiliar way of life. And it was not only an unfamiliar way of life to the cultures, but it also contradicted a central value, which is marriage. And that made, as that picture depicts, and in addition to that, religious life was not only new,